I take weekends off. I don't work on weekends. I can't say 100% of the time I don't, but even if I have plans to work on weekends, it's probably not gonna get done. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or just welcome if you're new. My name is Eboni Harris and I'm a serial entrepreneur based in Houston, Texas. So today I'm going to do a video just sharing what is it like to be a serial entrepreneur. I have 3 businesses, 4 on the way. So 3.5 because I actually have 4 businesses. One, we're just waiting to get some contracts and things like that. But I have 4 businesses and it's a lot. I think my diagnosis of ADD, ADHD helps. And it's also probably why I ended up becoming an entrepreneur in the first place, because the idea of working in a company, working for someone else where I kind of had to do the same thing every day, even though with therapy, of course, it's always something new, but the same documentation, the same meetings, the same, like, and it's interesting because with the new business, I keep thinking about once it gets to a certain size, will I be back into that kind of mundane everyday life, or will I be able to continue to kind of mix it up, like have certain routines, but also have some flexibility. So I'm just going to talk about 5 things that I recognize that being an entrepreneur looks like, or a serial entrepreneur looks like. This is just my experience. I'm not the expert on what all serial entrepreneurs' lives look like, because obviously people have different types of businesses. 3 out of the 4 of my businesses are all within mental health. 1 is not, but 3 out of the 4 are all within mental health. And so I'm sure that's a very different, and all of the businesses out, they're all pretty like virtual. One, you have to go out and do certain things, but they're all pretty virtual. And so, yeah, it just, I'm sure my experience is completely different than other people's. So for me, I try to have a schedule. And I do okay. So today is Friday. Fridays, I typically record videos. Monday, Tuesdays, I try to edit. I try to edit on Mondays, but sometimes it's Monday, Tuesdays. And I post on Wednesdays for YouTube. I see clients Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I typically have like meetings. If I'm like doing an interview or anything like that, I try to schedule those for Mondays and Fridays if I can control it. Sometimes you can't, so I just have to work it into my schedule. So I have a very basic schedule. There are certain tasks for one business that I do on Mondays, certain tasks for other business I do on Fridays. Like I kind of have a understanding of like what I do each day, which is helpful. Fridays for financials, Mondays is for planning, right? Like I have certain ideas of what each day looks like, but with that, I also have a lot of flexibility, because with having 3.54 businesses, there are fires that need to be put out, right? There are questions that need to be answered. There are meetings that need to be had, right? And so because of that, I have to also be able to have some flexibility in there where I'm not like Monday looks like this, Tuesday looks like this, Wednesday looks like this, and there's no room for anything else. So I feel like life as a serial entrepreneur is having somewhat of a schedule, but also having space to be able to put out fires, also having flexibility for things that may come up, also understanding that while you have some control over your schedule, you don't have full control. Because if my assistant comes and says, oh my God, I messed up, I did this. Or if she comes and says, hey, I got a call from this person, they're asking about this, can you help them? They're looking for someone, then I know that I have to, yes, I can say, okay, let me get back to you in like a couple hours, let me finish what I'm doing, which I've done depending on what I'm working on. But also there's sometimes when it's like, oh, I need to let them know right then and there, right? I do some speaking where I get paid a pretty consistent rate, and it's on a pretty consistent basis. So they'll reach out and say like, hey, do you have time to do 2 speaking engagements in the month of March? I don't have to reply immediately, but I have to make sure that within that day I'm letting, my assistant typically will answer. She looks at my schedule and doesn't see anything, she'll answer, but sometimes she'll just let me know ahead of time, because there are times I don't put things in my schedule. So yes, that is a big part of it, is like kind of having a schedule and understanding what certain days are for, but also having the flexibility to be able to say something comes up, I can handle it. Another thing is delegating a lot. Being a serial entrepreneur means that there is a lot of delegation, and there have been decisions made in certain businesses where we used to delegate and now we're kind of taking on, me and my partner are kind of taking on a little bit more, but the goal is to get back to delegating. The goal is to get back to, all right, let's bring her back, our assistant back, let's bring somebody back to help us with this stuff so we can put these fires out so we don't have to deal with it ourselves. So there's a lot of delegating. There's a lot. You have to be clear. And it took me a long time to do this. When I first got my current assistant, she still tells me this sometimes. She's like, just tell me what you need. Like, stop being like, oh, maybe can you, never mind, I'll just do it. She was like, no, just tell me and I'll do it. I'm very much a person that like, it's just easier for me to do it. And so I have to train myself to say, no, it's not easier. It could, let me not say that. It could be easier for you to do it, but it also can be easy for them to do it, especially once they get used to doing it. And so you have to you have to give people time to know exactly what you need and for them to be able to accomplish it at the same level that you want them to accomplish it, or at the same level that you would. So it takes time, but really truly learning how to be a leader is learning how to delegate and learning how to be clear on what you need from people and learning how to assess if those needs are being met and what to do and train them to make sure that they are meeting those needs. So delegation is a big part of it. Writing down new ideas, but not pursuing them. I have a series that's coming out about businesses I wish existed. And when I tell you, I come up with a business idea at least once a month, probably more than that. If someone tells me a story, I'm like, ooh, that could be a business. Like literally, I am always thinking about ideas. I'm thinking about new products. I'm thinking about ways to expand my current businesses. I have all the ideas. And what I have had to learn is write it down, but you don't pursue every idea. You write it down and you focus on what you're focusing on. You get to your goals. There are times when something will bother you and you end up doing it. That's how I ended up opening my last business, was because I wrote it down. I fleshed it out, like wrote down everything about the business and was like, okay, cool. I got it written down. The next day, but what about this? You should do this. All right, let me write all that down. Okay, I got it fleshed out. The next, it was bothering me that I was not looking more into it. And so that was my sign of like, okay, you have it written down. You know, if you want to come back to it, you can, but it just felt like something I needed to do. And so for that reason, I went ahead and pursued it. But a lot of times what I'll do is, even with my private practice, my therapy practice, I have lots and tons of ideas of like what we can do for the community, what we can do to connect, what we can do to like offer services, what other type of products we can have. I write those down. I have a few available. I have some that are fleshed out, but they're not fully available yet because I need to get some other systems in place before I start adding new products to it. So a big part of being a multiple or a serial entrepreneur is you're going to have ideas. You're going to have vision. You're going to have all that stuff. And that's part of the reason why you want to build a team. And that's part of the reason why you want to get people that can do the work for you. So you have more time to dive deeper into like, does this make sense for the market? Does this make sense for our clients? Does this make sense for the direction we want the business to go? But you don't have a lot of time to do that when you're trying to run several things. And so that's why it's extremely important to write it down, to get all your thoughts out, but you don't need to pursue everything. The next one is what I just basically said is teams, right? I talked about delegation, but I think teams and finding people that you trust to do their job well is extremely important. I take a lot of accountability when someone's not succeeding in what I'm asking them to do, but then at some point I have to say, okay, no, this isn't working. Like I can give you less, but then I don't want to have to pay you the same to give you less work because I'm not able to get you to do what I need you to do. So let me just move on to someone who can, right? So I think hiring competent teams, hiring people that you know can do the job or that you feel like can be trained to do the job, because that's the other part, right? Hiring those type of people is extremely helpful and extremely important. And so I think sometimes that's the biggest struggle when it comes to like having multiple businesses is, okay, I might hire somebody that's like a executive, a personal assistant for me that can help me with these different things. But then I have to hire people that are specific for those different businesses as well. Like you can't have one person doing everything for every business all the time. You know, I mean, you could, but that kind of gets a little muddy sometimes. So hiring people, having teams, having experts that come in and kind of help you. Again, that's why I kind of built the other business, the Operationally, which is like a done for you. We have a team. We create the team for you, your specific business needs, and then they do the work so that you can focus on the deep work, so you can focus on your vision, so you can focus on what is the next product. That's the whole point of that business. And so if you're interested, feel free to, leave a comment, or you go to hireoperationally.com. This isn't really an ad. I know that for me, a big part of being able to be an entrepreneur and being able to pursue these different interests is the fact of having different team members and having people that are competent that can do their work, where I don't have to handhold the whole time, right? You train, you get them to a good space, and then you let them fly. And the last one for me as a serial entrepreneur, I take weekends off. I don't work on weekends. I can't say 100% of the time I don't, but even if I have plans to work on weekends, it's probably not gonna get done. I'm just gonna be honest with you. If I say, oh yeah, I'll work on it this weekend, it's probably not gonna get done. I take weekends off. I work very hard Monday to Friday. I do a lot with my week, and I have to always remember that, because I feel like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. You did a lot in those, 40 hours, give or take 10 to 15. Sometimes I'm working 60 hours, sometimes I'm working 20 hours, but you've done a lot. And so I typically take weekends off. Exceptions are I might get a speaking engagement, which I try not to get them on the weekend, but I get it. That's when a lot of engagement speaking things happen. So I might get a speaking engagement, or there may be something that I'm like, okay, I really want to get this to this client before Monday. I'll spend a couple hours Saturday morning and just kind of get it done. Or if I'm, if I'm going somewhere that day, maybe I'll throw on some makeup and do a video before I go somewhere, right? So things like that, I definitely am aware of, but for the most part, weekends are taken off, right? Because I do so much during the week. And as a serial entrepreneur that's connected with people and all of that and working with other businesses, most people work Monday through Friday, right? So that's the best time to kind of connect and do your work. So that, for me, those are the top 5, I guess. That is what my life looks like. Those are the 5 different things. I don't even know how to, like I said, I don't know how to describe it, but that's just how my life looks as a serial entrepreneur. As I think of more, I'll definitely share more. Let me know, are you a serial entrepreneur? Do you want to be? What do you envision your life being like? Or do you just want to be an entrepreneur, right? Because I feel like sometimes, I know for me, I've just always had these different interests, but some people are like, I just want to start a business. Like, I just want this to be my business. What do you hope your life looks like? What are you expecting it to look like? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for watching. That's all. Bye.